Right, Ross. I think this is going to be great. I think there's probably a small number of whiskies that, when I try them for the first time, I think this has the potential to be one of my all-time favourite drams.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in that ballpark today. So this is a Highland Park 30-year-old. This is a sort of pre-2013 presentation.
Yeah.
Obviously matured for at least 30 years. Distilled at Highland Park Distillery on Orkney. Any other Highland Park fun trivia you've got for me?
This is really exciting. One of Scotland's oldest distilleries, 1798.
Yep.
Obviously a big brand, so well known. For me, this kind of vintage or era of Highland Park distillation is really something to get excited about. We know Highland Park, we know the core range, which is also just full of great whiskey.
Yeah.
But the older stuff, I've had two different versions of the 30-year-old before.
Okay.
That I've really enjoyed. I love the 25. Normally it's a bit more European oak influence than the older expressions. And the peat dissipates as well, obviously, over time. But I think what you generally, I'm hoping to find here is a big, bold, memorable dram from a fantastic brand.
Yeah, I think for me, what makes Highland Park special is that obviously it's got that peatiness to it, but it's completely different to your Lafroigs and Ardbegs. So
100%.
obviously Highland Park Distillery is on Orkney, as we say, not Isla. So the peat that's used is completely different. So in Orkney, they don't have any trees at all.
Yeah.
So it's too windy. So the peat doesn't have that woodiness to it. It's more heather.
I think it's something that people overlook. The fundamental, the peat that you're digging up from hundreds of years ago is built up of different things depending on where it's taken from.
Yeah.
And so we speak about Isla smoke and different styles of peat and smoke all the time. Highland Park, I think, really mastered what they do to make it quite a unique experience for them.
Because the likes of Lafroig, their peat is quite sort of seaweedy, isn't it? Because it's right next to the sea, so that gives it that weird...
And some of the Islas get a bit kind of ashiness, but then you've got Lag on Arran. They use peat from, even though they're off the mainland, they use peat from Aberdeenshire, which is kind of dense forest land, and then so you get a totally different character. Highland Park's a brand that, if they release something new, even now, and people are always kind of fantasizing about the old style of Highland Park, I think everything they do now is still really quite consistent. Even I tried the cash strength recently, which I thought was a brilliant dram. This one here, also bottled at 48.1%, so generous with the strength, which we like with an older whiskey. And again, they're quite good for that. The only thing that I can say that is really unusual with Highland Park is that they've got a really high filling strength. And so that's why some of their older whiskies are still able to maintain a really impressive strength.
That is the concern, isn't it? When you get to whiskies of this age, you think it's just going to taste like wood. And any sort of DNA, distillery DNA or a sort of peat influence is just going to fade away.
100%.
But at this strength, we're hopeful that it's still got that Highland Park.
They're filling casks over 70% alcohol, which is higher than most of the industry. And they've got floor maltings up on the island, so you know they're going to be playing around with some really fun stuff. When you've got that opportunity for a really old distillery, I think it's a really nice thing for them still to be doing, even if it's obviously for a small percentage of production. I think that's something that's worth getting excited about if you're a whiskey nerd like me and you.
Yeah, I think this one has even got more nerdiness appeal to it, because not only is it the pre-2013 style of Highland Park 30, this is also a limited release of, I think, only 180 bottles. I think it's very limited for the 180th anniversary of the Spectator magazine, which is quite a kind of conservative-leaning magazine.
Yeah, part of political edit from...
Yeah, Boris Johnson used to be the editor.
Oh dear.
Which is the... Oh dear. I know, so we just throw this away and start again, shall we?
No, but that's... I think the Spectator is a big brand in itself as well, isn't it? It's funny whiskey collaborations. Obviously, there was a good budget from the Spectator magazine to be...
I think these days, when you look at distillery collaborations, it's quite, it's always quite sexy. It's like with Aston Martin or James Bond. The Spectator...
2013 was a different time, Laurie.
Yeah, it's not really in the same ballpark. But anyway, shall we...
Yeah, let's give it a go. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm hoping, and quietly confident, this is going to be exceptional.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful presentation as well. At this time, Highland Park were less focused on all like the Viking stuff. I feel like the last few years they've attracted some criticism.
I think that's fair.
Some Viking twist, and people are getting sick of it.
Yeah. Experience speaking to their brand ambassador, their global brand ambassador, Martin, he speaks about the stock back then. You're talking about 1980s, 1990s stock. was really quite inconsistent as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of the releases around this time, this 30-year-old had much older whiskey in it. Now we can't say we don't know what it's got in it, but I suspect this would still fall under the category of they were kind of managing their stock.
Yeah, like imagine this would be 1970s
Yeah.
distillate. So 30 years
30
old,
years
bottled
old.
2008. So yeah, very excited. We'll crack this open. I'm just gonna rip this one up.
Yeah, good luck. Hopefully the cork's in good nick. Have you had much old Highland Park before?
Not as much as I would have liked, actually.
Yeah.
I remember for a while Highland Park 12-year-old was like my go-to
Yeah.
whiskey. You know when you get those drams where as soon as the bottle's finished,
You replace it straight away.
replace it.
I
It's
think
like
it's a house dram, Highland Park. It has been for so long as well. Evidently not that easy to open.
I'm making a mess of this.
That's all right.
Sticker, there we go. Now we're in business.
Excellent. It looks great. I'm going to indulge you here with the colour. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, I feel like Highland Park, do you think it suffers, obviously being owned by Edrington, who also own Macallan? It doesn't really get as much
I think that's
recognition and appreciation as
yeah.
perhaps
I think that kind of suits Highland Park.
Okay.
Highland Park already has a bit of a cult-like following, truth be told, and we are still able to get our hands on the core stuff. I think it's a brand that could easily go Springbank kind of style of following, where if they start releasing really interesting things, we just won't get the opportunity to try it. So I think hiding behind Macallan in terms of the marketing budget's probably okay for them.
I mean, it definitely doesn't fly under the radar.
No, it's a huge brand. It's, for us, we know it as a huge brand.
What do you think of the nose?
Lots of European oak on the nose straight away. It's big, it's bold, it's sweet.
Do you think can you pick up the strength? Was he 48.1?
Yeah,
I think it smells delicious.
I do think it smells quite indulgent. I don't get much alcohol off the nose at all. I imagine this will benefit from a little bit of time in the glass as well. But very inviting.
Yeah, should we give this a little try?
Yeah, cheers. You can tell me what you think and I'll have a little go.
That is really, I like that a lot. I think I enjoy the finish because I feel like the peat comes through and it's a nice sort of wispy smoke.
Yeah.
That sort of heathery smokiness.
To be honest, the peat, there's...
And you don't love
This is absolute fact. I would never choose certainly not a heavily peated whiskey as my style. The peat is retained here more than I perhaps anticipated.
Yeah, me too.
But there's a kind of chocolatiness as well. That's like it's a great whiskey. The finish is probably what's got me the most right now because it's still developing. The nose going back now, having tasted it, is a little bit lighter as well. Maybe some. There's still loads of oak and European oak there, but I'm very impressed with the first taste.
You can taste the age, and I think that complexity in those layers that you get with this, you can't replicate that even with super active casks. Obviously, a lot of distilleries now are playing with STR casks to get as much more interaction, but you can't replicate 3 decades.
Yeah, the front of the palate's got a little bit of kind of stone fruits, and then it gets more chocolatey, coffee, indulgent. Definitely a kind of dark chocolate with a little bit of wood, but it's not overcooked. The wood isn't, all that prevalent.
Yeah.
And the finish is.
I think the finish is stunning actually because it doesn't. Some whiskies you get the finish is like a whack, and then it goes. This sort of.
You could sit with a glass of this for an hour.
Yeah.
And it just keeps developing. I really like the finish is brilliant. Perfect balance of smoke and sweetness. It's better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it's probably the best Highland Park I've ever had.
Yeah, I've loved. Remember the old style 40-year-old in a nice wooden box? Do you remember that one?
I never tried it.
I thought that was probably the best presentation of whiskey I've ever seen.
Yeah, some of their boxes recently have been crazy.
Yeah.
This
feels quite understated.
It does.
And I quite like that.
And this comes just in a normal wooden box as well, so it is really nice. I like this old style of labelling as well. It's quite minimalistic. I think it's a very iconic brand and distillery, and I think this totally fits into the core range and distillery profile, despite being a limited release.
Yeah, I think this one, in 2024, it's less than £1,000 at auction.
Yeah.
Which I think if you compare that to something like, compare this to a Macallan 30-year-old.
Yeah.
Obviously, the peatiness and stuff is different, but a fraction of the price.
Yeah,
For me, this is
less than a third. 100%.
experience.
There's more going on. If you're in the market for high end whiskey, if you can get the opportunity to even try this, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, I would spend a lot of money on a dram of that if it was in a bar.
I think that's absolutely stunning. And for me, a 10 out of 10 whiskey is rare. We've been lucky to try some outstanding stuff like, Glenvore 1937, Springbank 1919, which are, a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is a comfortable 9.
Yeah, it's really hard to fault.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really good. And yeah, in fact, it's a limited release.
Feeling quite lucky. I'm like,
Highland Park, yeah. I've never had a bad Highland Park. It's always got body to it, it's got layers to it. It's always balanced as well, very well rounded.
That was really tasty.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Bevvy content. We want to hear what you think, your best whiskey experiences, the whiskies you want to try. It's a really exciting journey we're on, so make sure to join us. Download the Bevvy app on Google Play and App Store to keep track of your whiskey journey, connect with your whiskey friends, keep track of your favourites, anything you could ever want to do with whiskey, all in one place. It's the definitive whiskey companion.